Hey everyone, welcome back to Alchemy with Zero Phase. This is Eric. I'm going to do a quick tutorial video and I guess how-to video to help speed up your renders. So in this video, I'm going to focus on certain settings, command line arguments for the automatic 1111 interface, and things to watch for. Now, these settings should work for most everybody. I'll point out the ones that are specific for the RTX video cards, but also the ones that the settings that you'll want to use if you have cards that have less than, say, 12 gigs of RAM, like if you have 8 gigs or less. Okay, and there's ways of running this CPU only if you want, but we're going to focus on the RTX settings for those who really want to speed this up. So the first thing I want to go over are my current system settings. Obviously, not everybody's going to have the same kind of computer. I've got a pretty beefy system. It's a 10th gen Core i9 processor with 10 cores with hyper-threading. So it acts like it's a 20-core processor. Okay, I get that. This really doesn't apply to that. This is more for the video card. The video card I currently have is an NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti. It's the I guess they call it titanium edition. So the Ti edition offers a higher level of floating point calculation, and it's got 12 gigs of VRAM on it. Okay, I wanted to go with that. I really wanted something that would help speed up. The last card I had was an RTX 2080 with 8 gigs of RAM. Now it worked just as I'm not even going to say that it did not work just as good as this one. It did work pretty well. Okay, I am going to go back and actually test that one. I have a different system I put it in. I'm going to test these same settings on that because I want to see what the improvement is on a 2080 Ti. But from what I'm reading up, any RTX card this should work on because they have the Tensor, the new TensorFlow Tensor Core built into it. Okay. The Tensor Core stuff is something that's very specific to the RTX cards and allows for faster processing of certain things. So I'm going to bring over my settings. Now I'm using an interface called Stability Matrix. Okay, this is what it looks like, at least from the console point of view, and gives you kind of a way to manage your installs. I currently actually have 3 different installs. I got a 1.6 version of Stable Diffusion, which I actually stopped using now that I've converted everything over to the 1.7 Stable Diffusion. I also have Comfy UI installed. Installed a little while ago. I actually installed it because the inference option in here allows you to do some stuff with it. But I'm going to try learning that a little bit more because I like the idea of the nodes. I just haven't done it. I got a lot of people on my Discord server who love it, so I got to start diving into that and figuring that out. So as you can see, the settings that I've modified, I was getting like 1.5 iterations a second. Okay, before I made these changes, and after reloading, I'm now getting, and I've tested a bunch, I'm now getting anywhere between 2.9, like 2.5 and over 3, like 3.2 iterations a second. So to get going here, the first thing you want to go into, now this is if you're just working straight the web UI, automatic 1111, you'll go into your I'll show you here real quick. Okay, you're going to be going into your web UI user bat file if you're on Windows. Okay, so I'm going to bring this over here so you can see it. So this is the file you'll end up going into. As you can see over here in the preview, the line you'll be modifying is the command line _args. Okay, these are simple. All you're doing is putting like a dash and then the command. And if there's an argument that goes with it, you put the argument in, but most of them don't have an argument. Okay, so let me show you what I've got here. In Stability Matrix, there's a gear here, and the gear will apply to whatever model you have selected here. Okay, so you go into this, and it gives you a bit of a nicer interface to kind of select some of the options. Not all of them though. So what we're going to go into here is on my card, because I've got 12 gigs of VRAM. I was using MedVRAM and MedVRAM SDXL. I didn't realize that that was hindering me. So after doing some research and experimentation, I unselected these. I don't know why. I think it just deals with how it's supposed to manage the VRAM if you have less than 12. If you're dealing with 6 to 8 gigs of VRAM, that it cuts down or segments certain things to be able to process it on lower memory cards. So yeah, if you've got anything that's above 8 gigs of VRAM, you probably don't need these. Okay. XFormers, you got to make sure you have. So basically, you're just going to put -- XFormers on your command line. I think that's just standard for everybody now. Most of the other options you don't need to worry about. API, auto launch, skip. I do skip torch CUDA test and the skip Python version check. I think it just kind of helps speed up the boot up time of the automatic 1111 interface. So another option that I know a lot of people get confused on is the no half. I think this applies. Well, I'm going to be honest. I don't know exactly. I think it has something to do with its ability to use VAEs, because there's like an option that says no half and no half VAE. You can use on your command line arguments. I found out this drastically slowed me down. I don't know why. Okay, I unselected this through, like I said, through experimentation, figured out I didn't need that. Don't worry about any of these other ones. Now down into the main command line here, these are the extra ones that I can put in here. You can do the same thing on your command line arguments. The -- list is just basically allowing me to access my Stable Diffusion web interface from anywhere on my local network. I actually have my router set up so that I can access it from anywhere. So just on my phone. I love being able to generate images on my phone wherever I'm at. I'm impulsive. I get an idea. I want to try it out. Okay, these next three are the ones that you need to pay attention to. Okay. Upcast-sampling and opt-split attention. These were the first two I started, and it increased the speed of rendering on my RTX card. I don't think it's specific to RTX. Okay, I think it's just, it deals with possibly how much RAM you have. I'm sure there's somebody out there who knows more about this. Again, I'm just bringing this to you, and I'm going to show you what the speed difference is here, at least on what I'm doing. But the one that does apply to the RTX specifically is this one right here, the opt-channelslast. And what I was told is that if you have an RTX card, you need to have this on there. It does improve things. The rest of these are just some other things that I like to work with because of some of the extensions I'm working with. So you don't have to worry about those. These ones right here, the -- opt-channelslast, the -- upcast-sampling, and the -- opt-split-attention options. Add those into your lines and then restart your interface. Now, a couple of other things you're going to want to probably do that you can, and these are just some things that will help, I think, overall, especially if you're dealing with low VRAM, is in your browser. If you have a browser open all the time, while you're rendering, go in your browser and disable hardware acceleration. Most of the time you don't need it anyway. Whether it's Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome, typically there's an option where you can turn off and turn on the hardware graphics acceleration. Then in Windows, there's also another option under your graphics settings. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay, so the setting you're going to want to look for is called the hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. It's under your system. This is, again, applies to, I think, Windows 10 and 11. So under system display graphics and then under default graphics settings. Okay, you'll want to shut this off, reboot your computer. My understanding is this does help. I think it basically allots more resources and time to the GPU when it needs it. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to set up and show you kind of the difference here between some of these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set what I had before. Now again, some of you may have the same thing. We're just going to come in here. I had no half. Actually, what I had was on the command line argument, I had no half VAE. So Give me a second here. We're going to just grab this so I don't lose it. It'll be easier to put it back in. I know I don't have a lot of this prepped and set up. That's just kind of how I work. I don't, you know, just keeping it real, if you want to call it that. So before, I did not have these in. Okay, what I had in here was no half VAE. Okay, I didn't have no half selected. Okay, I experimenting with it. Man, it brought my system to a crawl when I tried to render. But I did have the med VRAM SDXL selected. Everything else was the same. So those three options I had selected. Okay, I'm going to save that. We're going to stop this. We're going to relaunch it. Okay. Give it just a few seconds here, and then we're going to go start rendering stuff. Okay, I've got my interface up. I've got some basic settings. Oh, no, I don't have basic settings here. This is a refresh. So I'm going to use a pre-configured, what do you call it, config preset here. I just got one set up, so for specifically turbo, for the turbo version of SDXL. So the model I'm using is TurboVision XL Superfast. Okay. So the settings I'm going to be using in this is that model. We're going to be using Euler A, 8 steps, a config scale of 3. I like it at about, you either do 2 to 3 with this particular model. I like 3 because the colors tend to pop a little bit more without blowing it out completely. We are going to come down here. We're going to open this up because we're going to throw a series of prompts. We're going to load this up with some prompts here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to come over here to my online prompt generator here. We're going to just have it generate 5 prompts at a time. We're just going to load it up with 10 prompts, and we're going to do a speed comparison between these settings and the new settings I've been using. Okay, so we got 3 prompts here. I'm going to copy that over. We're going to dump those in here. We're going to go grab 5 more here. Grab those and load those in here as well. Okay, so we got 10 prompts in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit generate on this. I'll let it render out and I'll show you the timing on it and how long it takes to render these. So we're rendering these. I'm actually going to switch this over to landscape. So 1024 by 816. It's a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. And so we'll hit generate on that and let it go. Okay, so it finished up here. I'm going to bring this over and show you the timings on this. So each picture took, looks like, between 4 and 6 seconds each. Now here's the thing. I understand these are still fast. Okay, I'm not here to brag or anything. I really just want to bring some speed to people and their generation, because I know a lot of people are always curious about what's the best command line settings, what's the best command line arguments or whatever. So, and as you can see, I'm getting like what, between 1.2 iterations a second and it looks like 1.9, and about average, 1.8 to 1.9. So, and a total time of 1 minute 18 seconds with an average iteration a second of 1. Okay, I'm not sure why it averaged out to that. It should be averaged the other way. I think there's some other compensation that goes into that, but yeah, in either case, total of about 1 minute and 20 seconds. Okay, we're gonna go back in here and we're gonna change over these. We're gonna switch these all back out. Okay, we're gonna get rid of the no half VAE. I think with the no half VAE, it slowed down even more before. And then we're gonna bring over my other settings. Save those. We're going to stop this. We're going to relaunch it. Okay, we're fully loaded up now. So we're leaving all the settings the same. I'm not reloading anything, as you can see. We're going to leave the prompts in there the same, and we're going to hit generate on this. We're going to bring this over so you can watch it generate here. As you can see, we're getting about 2 seconds a piece on each render, and I think our average is going to be a lot higher. We're up over 3, about 3.3, 3.4 iterations a second. I'm assuming that's what that is, iterations a second. You never know with the AI industry. So Yeah, look, 2.75 looks like overall average, I guess, versus the one before. And that took a total of 30 seconds to render all 10 of those images. Now, again, that's on my system. Different cards are going to give different results, obviously. If you're running RTX, though, this should really improve your render speeds, okay? I know a lot of people will say, well, you know, reduce your size of your image, right? And you can do that, especially with turbo models. I think like the LCM and turbo models typically some of them are trained on smaller image sizes, which we can try and go through and do that. So let's bring this down. Let's just bring it down to 768 here by what is it going to do? 432. Okay, hit generate on that. And we're getting, what, 5.2 iterations a second? Just because it's obviously less pixels it's having to deal with. But 768 is still a great resolution. Works for, you know, SDXL will do that. That's the 2.1 models work great at. And there's a lot of 1.5 models that work great at the 768 sizes. And, you know, as you can see, these turned out fine. This is on an SDXL model. Okay. So take it for what it is. I'll leave a copy of my command line arguments in the description below, and I hope this helps somebody out. In just because I mean we all hate waiting for these generations. I know you can use LCM models and you can use the turbo models, but this, you know, if you're using regular SDXL models, this still speeds things up. You know, we can switch over to one of my favorites is the Sahastra Kotai model. Let's bring this up to 20 steps, and let's bring this up to the standard 7 on the config scale, and we'll leave the size here the same, and I'll show you what the speed goes to at that point too. Still going to be pretty quick. So that one was 3 seconds, 3 seconds. You know, we're still getting these ridiculously fast speeds, even when using a standard model. We are using Euler-A, which does tend to be faster, which is nice. And but we are at 20 steps here. And as you can see, we're averaging over 5 iterations a second with this, which is, I don't know, like I said, since I found out about this, I think it was yesterday, and been playing with it ever since to try and figure out, you know, is this going to be a viable solution? I've just been floored with how fast it is. And you know, and I don't know if this is a combination of moving to the 1.7 version of Automatic 1111, but I also noticed that, and a lot of people complain about this, the extreme pauses between image generations, or what I should say is between each image being generated, and then at the very end, the final pause. Like, it'll sit there for several seconds to almost 30 seconds sometimes, just, I don't know what it's doing, like processing, and before it finally says it's finished. And it doesn't do that anymore for me now. So as you can see, we're at 4.7 average, but I mean, each image only took, was it, you know, what, 3 seconds, but 5 point whatever iterations a second. So, I mean, I'm loving this. It's helped me speed through things. I can test out images faster, and overall, I'm sure it's going to help in other things like image to image and in painting and all the various aspects of that. So, again, I hope this helped. Like and subscribe. Love the support I'm getting. Channel's grown quite a bit, and look forward to your comments. Please let me know anything else that you guys might have found that's helped increase render speeds, even moving between images, you know, between rendering images. Would love to see how other people are doing their thing. Okay, talk to you later.